Welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. As always, I am your host, Scott Johnson. And on this episode of the show, we're going to take a look at UFC 144 or UFC Japan, whichever you prefer, Edgar versus Henderson. I'll be giving my predictions on this episode for the main event, co-main event, and then Anthony Pettis versus Joe Lozon and Yoshihiro Akiyama versus Jake Shields. For the rest of my predictions, head over to kamikazeoverdrive.net. They'll be posted over the next couple of days, and you can read them there. As always, I'd like to send out a big thanks to all my partners who host and post my videos, MMABettingOdds.com, CouchFighter.co, MMA Crips, and of course my new partnership with the Adrenaline Training Center and all the boys over there. And you can head over to my website. There's also links, and you can check some of the stuff out there. You can go from there, so please check them out. All my other sponsors, again, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for supporting me. Now, we are coming off a fairly solid UFC on Fuel TV event where I went 5-2 overall. Pushes my overall record over the last two shows to 12-3, which is pretty solid. And I like that. Now, the Kamikaze Overdrive betting package cashed out for its third consecutive event. A couple $100, $360 to the winner, people who invested. Again, I appreciate all the support there. So that's 3 events in a row. If you want more details on that, please head over to the website. There's all kinds of information there, and you can certainly purchase your UFC 144 betting packages, along with you'll be able to purchase UFC fighter notes as well a little bit later on. I'll be posting those. Now, the first ever Kamikaze Overdrive Grand Prix prediction tournament is coming to a conclusion. UFC 144 is the final event. 32 competitors predicting over the last handful of months, covering a number of events, 3 events per round, 4 in the finals. And we are down to the final 2 competitors, Klubal and Kane Gotti. And Klubal had a nice event at UFC on Fuel and opened himself up an 8-point lead, 54-46 in points over Kane Gotti. But the final event, UFC 144, will have 36 points up for grabs, the most points of any event in the tournament, so lots of time for Kane Gotti to catch up. So good luck to both of them. And if you're interested in seeing how these fantastic predictors, because these guys have beat out 4 opponents each to get to this point and have done an excellent job predicting fights, their picks are also posted on the website a little bit closer to the event, so cruise over there and again, check them out. And I think that's enough for me. It's time to get into my first set of predictions. We start our show in the weight division. This is my Adrenaline Training Center Certified Overdrive Fight of the Night. Now in the lightweight division, Anthony Showtime Pettis 12-2-0 fights Joe J-Lo Lozon 26-0. In their last appearances, Showtime picked up his first UFC win, while Lozon scored an upset victory over Melvin Gillard. Now both competitors embody the development of MMA, becoming well-rounded in all aspects of the game. Lozon has shown solid striking technique, he keeps his hands up and keeps things simple, relying mostly on straight, crisp punches, devoid of a big wind-up. On the mat, Lozon's a BJJ purple belt with 17 submission victories, with 4 straight wins by submission. Now, Joe aggressively attacks his opponent from the opening bell, looking to put them in a position to be tapped out. He averages an impressive 4.88 submission attempts per fight, but often only needs one opportunity to finish the job. Against Gabe Rudiger, he overwhelmed him, took him down, landed some vicious elbows and ground and pound before submitting him. Against Kurt Warburton and Melvin Gillard, he was equally as aggressive, scoring the knockdown, swarmed his opponent, and tapped them out. Now, as effective as Lozon's style is, there are drawbacks as well. Against Sam Stout and George Soteropoulos, J-Lau pushed forward aggressively, attacking Stout with his grappling and Soteropoulos with his striking, but when he was unable to finish his opponents early, he slowed tremendously and lost both fights as a result. Lozon has a fantastic ground game and underrated striking, but because he can only maintain this pace for a short period of time, it makes him vulnerable. Now, Anthony Pettis has showed marked improvement with his own ground game. He, too, is a BJJ purple belt and actually has more wins by submission than anything else. Pettis is dangerous off his back. He tapped Shane Roller with a triangle, but against Clay Guida, he struggled to remain vertical, and although he threatened with submissions, it was Guida's takedowns that decided the fight. Working with Olympic wrestler Ben Askren has certainly paid dividends for Pettis. Against Jeremy Stevens, he was taken down a couple of times, but retaliated with his own takedowns and won the fight as a result. Now, Pettis is a dynamic striker. He has a diverse arsenal of kicks, stopping Danny Castillo with a head kick, and he has power in his hands. He does a nice job setting up his strikes and has equally as impressive striking defense, avoiding 64% of his opponent's attack. Pettis has never been finished in 16 career fights, demonstrating excellent submission defense, a solid chin as was shown in the Steffens fight, and endless cardio. Lozon is a dangerous man, but that danger dissipates as the fight progresses, and he has a 1-3 record in bouts that go beyond the midway mark of the second round to back this up. His aggressive style makes him hard to defend against, but Anthony Pettis has excellent composure and should be able to deal with the early push. Look for J-Lo to come out fast and potentially win the opening round, but when Lozon begins to slow down, Anthony Pettis will take over the fight, focusing predominantly on his striking attack. Lozon is a tough kid to finish, but when he gets tired, he will be exposed to Pettis' power. So my prediction is Anthony Pettis to defeat Joe Lozon by TKO. In the UFC welterweight division, 13-4-0, Yoshihiro Akiyama takes on 26-6-1 Jake Shields. Akiyama has lost 3 in a row and Shields has lost 2 consecutive. Now, Akiyama is making his welterweight debut, but at almost 37 years of age, is making the cut going to cost him too much in the cage. Now, the Japanese superstar didn't have the greatest cardio fighting at 185, but if the cut is an issue, it will probably deplete that endurance even further. Although Jake Shields doesn't have elite-level cardio either, so if Akiyama does start to tire, Shields should be right there with him. Now, Shields is an elite-level grappler training under Cesar Gracie with a style he likes to call American Jiu-Jitsu, which is a mix of BJJ and wrestling. He has 10 career submission victories along with several decision wins where he dominated his opponent on the ground. The Dan Henderson fight comes to mind. He completes 42% of his takedowns, averaging 3.77 per fight. On top, Jake smothers his adversary. He has excellent transitions, tying up his opponent and working to advance his position. On the negative side, Jake isn't the most athletic wrestler, and against GSP, he was unable to take George down, which completely negated his top-level grappling skills. Now, takedowns could be an issue here, as Akiyama is a decorated judo practitioner and has stopped almost 100% of his opponent's takedown attempts. Akiyama has an excellent base, and when opponents clinch with him, they struggle to get him off balance, let alone off his feet. He completes 79% of his takedowns, going 5 for 5 against Lieben, and has 7 wins by submission, but he was tapped out by Chris Lieben. This is a huge concern, as Shields is a better ground fighter than Lieben, but the grueling pace of the stand-up in the Lieben fight certainly played a role in that submission, as Akiyama was clearly exhausted at the end of the 3rd round. If this fight stays vertical, Akiyama should have the advantage. Shields has been working to improve his stand-up, but is still fairly stiff and awkward. He's had success with his body kicks, uses a left jab, but in reality he lacks the tools to hurt his opponent. Akiyama has decent striking skills and a bomb of a right hand that he was able to hurt Michael Bisping with on several occasions. Overall, he has a more diverse striking catalog than Shields and will be aided by a 3-inch reach advantage. Both men have solid chins, but each is coming off a vicious knockout loss. This should impact Shields more, as Akiyama has one-punch knockout power, while Shields simply does not. In addition, Jake has appeared vulnerable to the overhand right. Dan Henderson dropped him, and he was hit repeatedly by GSP's right. Shields stands straight up and down while moving directly backwards in the striking exchanges, which leaves him open, and if Akiyama was able to land against Michael Bisping, he should be able to find a home here against Shields. Yoshihiro should be motivated by fighting in his home country. He'll have that 3-inch reach advantage. The weight cut is a significant concern, but I feel that if he can keep this fight standing, Shields won't be able to push a high pace that'll wear him down. So my prediction is Yoshihiro Akiyama to defeat Jake Shields by decision. In the co-main event of the evening, 13-2-0 Ryan Darth Vader battles 32-9-0 Quentin Rampage Jackson. Vader rebounded from his loss to Tito to knock out Jason Brills, while Rampage was submitted by John Jones in his last fight. Now, Rampage will be returning to Japan, where he spent a good portion of his career. This should be a motivating factor, but the biggest issue with Jackson is his mental state. And with his recent talk of retirement, you have to wonder how focused he will be. Now, Page is at his best when he can stand and bang, but I would expect that Vader will want to limit these exchanges with his wrestling. Now, Vader's an NCAA Division I wrestler, completing 42% of his takedowns, equating to just under 2.5 every 15 minutes. He has a powerful shot, heavy ground and pound, and is most effective when he can establish the takedown. But against Little Nog, he had difficulty getting the fight to the ground with regularity, and the numbers suggest that his takedown percentage has a significant drop-off beyond the first round, falling from 73% to 32%. Now, Rampage has decent takedown defense, shutting down 80%, including all 17s attempted by Matt Hamill, and holding John Jones and Rashad Evans to a combined 5 for 18. Jackson uses a combination of a front headlock, underhooks, and a sprawl to keep vertical, and if he is taken down, he's in the Hamill fight. Quentin did an excellent job of attacking Hamill when he came forward looking for the takedown. Page had success landing his strikes. Hamill
made his move in, delivering a knee to the midsection, or defending and immediately going on the offensive. And I would anticipate that something similar, he's going to be looking for something similar in this fight. Now, Vader does have knockout power, especially in his right hand, but he lacks the overall technique to match with Rampage.
Vader looked good against Brills, but again, I would imagine he won't be nearly as loose in this fight. Against Nogueira, Vader struggled to close the distance. He did a lot of swinging and missing early, and after Nog began to stuff his takedowns, Vader wasn't nearly as aggressive pushing forward in the exchanges, instead moving back. Rampage thrives in close quarter fighting, stalking his opponent and landing powerful combinations. Jackson is relatively one-dimensional, and fighters have had success shutting down that one dimension. He struggled against John Jones because Jones was able to maintain a distance that Quinton simply could not get inside of, and Rashad Evans had success using his wrestling to control Page as well. Now, Vader doesn't have the striking skills or physical attributes to reproduce Jones's success. Instead, he will need to rely on his wrestling like Evans did, but rounds are more power-based. This should play directly into Rampage's strength. As Vader closes the distance, look for Quinton to counter, and he
should be able to match Vader's strength and stuff the takedown and go on the offensive in a similar fashion to the Hamill fight. Rampage hasn't knocked anyone out since 2008, but he is still dangerous, and Vader is only one fight removed from being dropped by Tito Ortiz. I expect that Rampage will be motivated fighting in Japan for the first time since Pride. Look for him to push forward aggressively, keep Vader backing up, stuff his takedowns, and punish him in the striking exchanges. So my prediction is Rampage Jackson to defeat Ryan Bader by knockout. In the main event of the evening, the UFC's lightweight title will be on the line as the champions Frankie Dancer Edgar 14-1-1 defends against the former WEC champ 15-2-0 Ben Smooth Henderson. The champ is fresh off dispatching Gray Maynard, while Henderson earned his title shot with a victory over Clay Guida. Now, the list of opponents that these fighters have defeated heading into this event is quite impressive. The aforementioned Maynard and Guida, along with BJ Penn, Sean Shirk, Anthony Pettis, and Jim Miller. Physically, Henderson will stand 3 inches taller and is simply the larger fighter, but Edgar will have a 2-inch reach advantage. Now, it has been well documented that Frankie cuts a minimal amount of weight, which allows him to maintain his quickness from bell to bell. Now, cardio for both men is never an issue, with a combined record of 13-2 in decisions and championship round experience for both. Now, each man is well-rounded. Ben is the more physical fighter, while Frankie relies more on technique. Edgar has fantastic boxing skills along with his speed. He has excellent footwork and head movement, he attacks from a variety of angles, and constantly alters his approach. Frankie's lateral movement has been one of the keys to his success. He forces his opponent to chase him, and as a result, he's able to avoid his opponent's strikes. He maintains a distance that he's able with, closing quickly to attack, while his opponent is forced to try and cover the same distance, and with his speed advantage, Edgar is able to react and defend. Now, BJ Penn has excellent boxing skills, but was unable to land with regularity, and when he did, it was often a single shot, while Edgar was putting 3- and 4-punch combinations together. Now, Frankie's combo work is outstanding, leading with a left jab in 2s and 3s. He will use the jab, but because he varies his attack, he following it with a right, next time a body kick or a takedown, he is hard to anticipate, which makes him more effective. He did get tagged by Gray Maynard. Gray has timed him coming forward, but Gray's striking percentages were 25% and 33% respectively, which indicates that these instances were not the norm. Like Frankie, Henderson has power, but doesn't have a lot of knockouts to show for it. One of the keys to Henderson's striking is that he steps into everything, which shortens the distance between him and his opponent and increases his success rate, landing almost 50% of his strikes. He usually lands with a long, snappy jab, often throwing in multiples, following with a quick right hand, and he uses hard, low, and body kicks. On the negative side, against Pettis, he backed up too much, which allowed Showtime to control the exchanges, and he has shown vulnerability to a right hand, getting stunned on a couple of occasions, which could be an issue with the way that Edgar is able to set up his right. On the ground, both are BJJ brown belts. Henderson's submission defense is simply unbelievable, and he has a crushing guillotine accounting for 50% of his submission victories, while Edgar only has 3 submission wins, one of which came in the UFC. Edgar's takedown accuracy isn't exceptional at 36% compared to Ben's 48%, but Frankie was able to take both Gray and BJ down, which is quite impressive. Ben lands more takedowns per fight, and each has solid takedown defense. Frankie's takedowns are the product of his quickness and ability to disguise them with his strikes, catching his opponent off guard, and simply a combination of strength and technique. Excellent clinch game, punishing his opponent with knees and elbow strikes before either dropping for a single leg or using double underhooks, and he combines both techniques with a trip. On top, he is effective, but Frankie was effective, but his opponents were able to escape. Henderson's strength and flexibility makes him difficult to shake off. He controls his opponent while dropping powerful punches and elbows, and he did this against talented ground fighters like Mark Bocek and Jim Miller. This is a tough fight to predict. Frankie is almost untouchable when he's navigating the outer range of the cage, while his opponent rotates in the center, attempting to time him. But in the first Maynard fight, Gray used his takedowns to engage and nullify Frankie's speed, and Henderson should look to do the same. Edgar's normal advantages of speed and cardio will be matched in this fight, and Henderson is the physically stronger fighter, which will show up in close. The way Ben steps into his punches will help him to shorten Frankie's distance, and although Edgar is elusive, I believe that Henderson will be able to cut off the cage, control him in the clinch, and take him down and punish him on the ground for the duration of the bout. Edgar has incredible heart and durability, but my prediction is Ben Henderson to defeat Frankie Edgar by decision and become the new UFC lightweight champion. Welcome back to Kamikaze Countdown. I want to keep it quick because that prediction was long. As far as betting on Fight of the Night, I did pick lows on Pettis, but also Henderson Edgar. You can't go wrong with either one of those. Now, in Canada, when we watch the UFC on Fuel events, we watch them on Sportsnet. I hope Sportsnet can fix the feed because for the long time last night leading up to the co-main event anyway, it was zoomed in and the clock, the round clock, was off the screen. All you could see was some seconds ticking by, so I hope they fix that because that takes away from the event. One thing I want to touch on quickly, John Ankin kept trying to get fighters last night to call out future opponents. I like the fact that the fighters are taking the higher road and saying, I'm grateful to be here and I'll fight whoever they want me to fight. I'm not going to take that, pro wrestling style of call this guy out and call that guy out. So, I certainly hope they continue to do that because I think it reflects better on the sport when you don't have the actual athletes calling the shots, and instead it's, okay, this is who you fight now if you want to move on to the next round or the next stage of your career. So either way, I think that's a good move on the fighters' parts. Keep doing what you're doing. Kamikaze Countdown. Thanks for listening. So those are my predictions for UFC 144. Head over to my website, kamikazeoverdrive.net, for the rest of the predictions. They'll be posted throughout the week. I'll also be doing betting packages for this event as well. They're only $5. The last three have all cash, paying out a grand total of over $1,300 to the people who invested in them. So I think it's a pretty good turnaround. I'm also putting together some fighter notes that'll be available on the website. You can go over to the site and you can get more information on those. Now the Grand Prix prediction tournament, this is the final event. Klubal and Kane Gotti are fantastic predictors, have advanced through 30 other competitors to get to the finals. They'll be posting for this event. All their picks will be available on the website as we get closer to the event. Klubal currently leads, but both these guys really know what they're talking about, so please check them out, and I wish the best of luck to both of them. Don't forget to get your picks in for all the fights for this event. And as always, thank you to all my sponsors, and I think we can wrap the show. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.